Hello lovelies, so today I wanted to show you how I made this cute Nightmare Before Christmas ugly Christmas sweater. So there is the front and here is the back. However, your design can vary and you can make this as creative as you want to. So first I recommend drawing out your design just so you have a game plan going into this. However, I did end up changing my design several times while I was making this. Other supplies you'll be needing are a plain black sweater, or whichever color you want. I decided to go with a black sweater, and I recommend getting it kind of large so you don't have to worry about it stretching. And I recommend having your design with you. And according to your design, you can buy some felt. I use black for the hills and ground. I use gray for the tombstones, white for the snow, yellow for the moon, and then I had a dark yellow for the shadow on the moon. However, I didn't use it. I decided to use some paint as well as some paint brushes to draw on and paint on some designs. And then I also use some sewing materials like pins, needles, thread, and of course some scissors to cut out the felt shapes. If you do not want to sew, you can always use hot glue instead. However, I think sewing makes it a little more secure. So it's good to have your design out on the table while you're working, and I recommend getting some chalk and drawing out your design before you start. Oh, kitty on the table. It's good to use chalk because you can always rub it off like I'm doing here and just start all over. It's also good to use references. As you can see in the upper left-hand corner, I decided to use a picture from the movie. And once I was happy with my design, I decided to use a plate as a template to cut out my moon. Once I was done cutting that out, I decided to hand sew it on. So I just got some black thread, because that's all I had, and needle, and just hand sewed it. So what I recommend is doubling up your thread, tying a knot, and then I'm just simply going up and down through both layers of fabric, just as I'm demonstrating here. This does take a while, so I do recommend turning on the movie while you're doing this. I had a smaller sweater, so I had to account for the stretch, so I put it on and then pinned it in place to make sure it'd lie flat while I was wearing it. As you can see, I'm now done sewing, so I put the black felt on top, and then I began sketching out the hill that I wanted. As you can see, it took me a few tries, which is why it's good to wear, or to use chalk, I mean, so you can always just go over it a few times and see how you like it. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut that out. As you can see, now I'm done, so I'm just lining it up, seeing where I want it. Once again, I'm going to try it on before I actually sew it down. And now that I'm done with the hill, I'm just gathering some gray felt and I'm just sketching out some gravestones for the bottom. As you can see, I'm just drawing out different designs and different sizes. You can also draw little crosses or names or rest in peace on it, or any sort of date that you'd like, just to make it really creative and custom. And you can make as many as you'd like. Now that I'm done sketching those out, I'm just going to take my scissors and cut each of them out. And then I just sewed them on like before. Now I cut out a larger gravestone for the back, in accordance with my design, just to use to see how wide I wanted the hill. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut that out. And I'm just cleaning up the edges like I did with each of the other pieces. Now I'm going to take my thread and sew that on, and then once I'm done with the hill, then I'm going to take my thread again and sew the tombstone on. I decided to use paint for the snow instead of hand sewing just because I was really tired, and so I just dabbed my brush on top of the hills and gravestones as well as the ground. I also painted Jack and Sally 1993 on the back, and then I added a tiny little bat bow on the collar and painted the sleeves. So here's the final product. I recommend if you ever wash this to wash this inside out, so there's no friction on the actual paint itself. Some paint will come off, so don't worry. You can always just dab that back on. And here's the finished product, like I said. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you so much for watching. Bye! Look at this goofy goober. I went to go get some more supplies, and I come back and he's laying on my sweater. He's disguised right now. You can't see him.